Hey, what's up? This is Ben from WODprep, and today I'm going to talk about how to prepare for your very first CrossFit competition. In fact, I'm going to go over 5 key steps that will help you have the most fun and have your absolute best performance on your first competition. Even if you've already competed before, this video is still going to help you. I am a huge proponent of competing. I used to do a lot of it. It was the thing that made me truly fall in love with functional fitness. Whether I was doing the scaled or the RX divisions, whether I was competitive or not, it really didn't matter. There's something about coming together with a group of people, sweating it out, doing multiple events in a day, just hanging out with a bunch of other like-minded people. And regardless of where you end up on the leaderboard, it's a ton of fun. And honestly, I think more people should do it. So even if you are the most scaled of scaled athletes watching this video, if you are a complete beginner, I promise you, you won't regret signing up for a competition. So find a local competition and then follow these 5 steps and you're gonna have the best day of your life, maybe the best weekend of your life if it's multi-day. So let's start with step number 1. Should you go team or individual? Obviously you might not have this option. A lot of competitions only have team or only have individual. Personally, I would coach you to say, if it is your first event, I would go team. The reason being is because when you're on a team, other people can talk you off the ledge. Other people can hopefully maybe have more experience that they're bringing to the table. Or maybe you join a team with a bunch of other complete beginners that have never done an event and you guys have fun together. What I've noticed I've seen all female competitions. I know Girls Gone WOD has an amazing event that they run. They run them all over the world. There's so many different events where you can find your people, whether it's men's only competitions or females only competitions or co-ed or scaled only or RX elite only. Like there's so many different versions that you can do, but competing as a team is a great step in the right direction. If you start as an individual and maybe join an event where you can't do all the movements or maybe you're kind of have an off day, it might not feel that good at the end of the day. So I always suggest start with a team and then move on to individual. That's what I did personally. I did a couple 2-man team events and then realized how much I loved it and then started competing individually. I always tended to have way more fun on the team. There's just something about coming up with a good team name and organizing a really adorable uniform with your team. In fact, I might even be able to overlay one of the first uniforms that I had where I had ice cream shorts. Anyway, I digress. So that's step number 1. Are you going to go team or are you going to go individual? I would suggest going team. Step number 2, are you going to go scaled or RX or maybe some other division? For now, let's just think it binary. We have scaled or RX. Ask the event organizer to go into detail of what the prerequisites are. A lot of people don't do this. I know because I've run events myself. People just are timid and they're scared to ask the event organizer, will there be blank movement? If so, I cannot do that movement, so I would not like to do it in competition. It's okay, ask those specific questions. The worst they can say is, hey, I can't tell you. But most people are gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, there's no swimming. Like I know we didn't specifically say there's no swimming, but don't worry, Ben, you won't drown, there's no swimming. Or in some events, let's say you're doing a team event, sometimes it's like one person in your team needs to be able to do X, Y, Z. So even if you can't, and that would be the limiting factor of you going RX, one person on your team, if they can do it, then you don't have any of that burden. So that's really important. I just highly suggest asking more specific questions. Most events will release a minimum standard requirement for each division. They'll have a list of minimum standards for the scaled division. They'll have a list of minimum standards for the RX division. And then you have a much clearer picture of what you need to meet your standards, whether it's RX individual or RX team. A lot of things are different there. A lot of people could do RX team, but maybe not RX individual because the team allows you to flex and have certain members of your team complete their strengths and then you can complete your strengths, so on and so forth. So don't be afraid to ask. I'll make sure to link to an article that one of our friends wrote. His name is Sunny. And he wrote about his experience doing his first few CrossFit competitions. And even though he could do some RX stuff, he would always default to scaled just because he felt way more comfortable to scale the workouts. Step number 3, it's time to modify our workouts leading up to the event. Here is a shocker. I can't tell you how many people I've seen a month, 2 months out from a local competition, and they're already starting to like modify and deload their training to prepare for some local competition. That's ridiculous. In fact, a lot of CrossFit Games athletes, even still to this day, it's starting to get a little bit more advanced now, But even to this day, like I remember Rich Froning, he would just train as normal all the way up until the event and then like maybe do a little bit of a deload the week leading into the games. But the bottom line is you really don't need to modify your training too much, especially if it's only a one-day competition. You just need to make sure that you fulfill a couple requirements. You shouldn't be ridiculously sore going into the event, and you shouldn't have ripped hands. Other than those two things, train as normal. So make sure that you potentially avoid workouts the week or so leading into the event that could cause lots of hand ripping. Don't do that. That would be really bad. You don't want to rip because then you're screwed during the competition. And then also maybe don't do 100 reps of heavy back squats or 50 heavy deadlifts in a workout leading up to the competition, because those kinds of things, especially if you have any experience, you might realize that some workouts give you worse DOMs than others. DOMs equals delayed onset muscle soreness. If there's some movements and workouts that leave you perpetually sore for weeks on end, then just try to avoid them for a week or so leading into the event. If you feel like you are going to rip and you need some help taking care of your hands, I have 2 of the world's greatest hand care for CrossFit videos on YouTube. Do a little look-see in the old Google machine for those, or you can check the description below where I'll have a couple links to those videos, which will really help you take care of your hands and make sure that you don't rip, whether it's before or during the competition. Step number 4, let's move on to competition day. Competition day has arrived. Hopefully the night before you slept well. The main thing that I want to talk about on competition day, I have a few different points. Number 1 is do not modify your nutrition or try new supplements. There's so many people that they're not used to eating a big breakfast. And for whatever reason, on competition day, they eat a 12,000 calorie breakfast. Spoiler alert, your stomach's not gonna be okay with that. Don't try anything crazy new. Just maybe think about eating a little bit more than usual. That's about it. You don't wanna try a brand new supplement. If you've never tried a pre-workout, don't do a pre-workout. If you've never tried coffee before a workout, don't try coffee before a workout. Because what happens is gastrointestinal things will go wrong. I promise you, I've been there and done that. You don't wanna have an upset stomach on competition day. The best way to avoid having an upset stomach is just to simply eat and consume things as per usual, as you normally have your eating schedule leading up to the event. Just eat normally on competition day. My only caveat to that is competition day is not the day to eat super clean paleo. I remember being in an event, there's, let's say, 3 events in one day. After event 1, I saw someone eating unseasoned chicken breast and raw broccoli. That is not performance food. That will not help you consume enough calories for competition day. So I give you free reign to eat delicious, calorie-dense foods on competition day. For me, I tend to eat delicious, calorie-dense foods all the freaking time, so competition day is pretty normal for me. But if you're someone who tends to eat salads and tons of greens and is in a severe calorie deficit, competition day probably isn't the day to do that. So maybe have a protein bar or 2. Maybe, I really like having like the UCAN energy bars or Perfect bars, but like some sort of dense calorie food, maybe some protein mixed with some carbohydrate powder of some sort. Like have calorie dense foods, because competition day is the day that you need it. But also remember, don't just try a bunch of new stuff for the sake of trying a bunch of new stuff. So try to find things that you know that you like to eat, that are calorie dense, that you know will agree with your stomach. That's what you need to eat on competition day. The final point I want to make for competition day specifically, and this is something a lot of people don't realize, is you need to be conscious of staying off your feet. It's really easy to walk around and cheer other people on, and it's just very easy to be standing for like 8 unbroken hours during a competition. When you are not actively warming up or crushing a workout, I would challenge you to just try to get off your feet. Find an infinity chair, find a couch, make a bed or something like that under a tent. Try to get out of the sun and get off your feet. If you can do those 2 things, you're gonna feel a lot more well-rested and you'll be way more recovered to hit each workout, as opposed to someone who's baking in the sun with their shirt off and also standing on their feet screaming and cheering for other people all day long. That's gonna leave you really, really tired. I actually have a really special resource that I put together not too long ago. It's called the Ultimate Competition Checklist, and it has a full list of gear that you might wanna bring during competition. When you're doing 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 events in one day, the amount of gear that you should have to help you maximize your score is different than just going to a normal CrossFit gym on any given day. So if you want to grab that checklist, all you have to do is enter your name and email, and I'll send it to you completely free. It's a really great resource with all the gear that I really like to bring on competition day. Just check the description below, or in the top comments you can find it. Enter your name and email, and I'll send that to you for free. The fifth and final step of preparing for your first CrossFit competition is have fun. Oh my gosh, the amount of people I've seen lose their minds and freak out and get over anxious about where they stack up on the leaderboard, it's not good. Your goal when you go into this event is to meet new people, have fun, and do your best. Your best is the only thing that you can control. If there's someone else who's registered for the event, maybe there's someone who's in the scale division that might even win the RX division. You can't get angry at that. Just do your best. Don't allow other people's performances to affect your mood. It's your goal should be to go into the event, like I said, meet new friends, put up the best performance you could possibly do, and learn. As long as you do that and you have fun, then it's a successful event. Even if you come in dead last place, you could be a winner by having a great day, meeting new people, and honestly just having a good time. That is a win in my book. And also it's important to note that at the end of a competition day, you can basically eat whatever you want. At least that's what I tell myself. So I have a great time eating pizza, ice cream, French fries, hamburgers, all the things that I want to eat after a competition. So the bottom line is remember to have fun. That's the fifth and final step. What you don't want is don't make the mistake of leaderboarding. Don't make the mistake of allowing Team Joe Schmo to impact your score. Don't allow other people to impact your happiness. The happiness that you have at the end of the day comes from within. Don't forget that. So I hope that you really like. These are 5 crucial steps to help you have a great first CrossFit competition. This is perfect for beginners, and honestly, there's probably a lot of advanced athletes that could use this as well. So please spread the word. If you want my complete list of things you should do and bring with you on competition day, then be sure to click the link in the top comment or in the description below where you can download my ultimate competition checklist. I'll send that to you completely free. Last but not least, out of the 5 steps, what's the number one thing you learned from today's video? And then if you have time, I would love to hear a competition story. So tell me, have you competed in an event? And if so, how did it go? What's one thing you learned? Give as much detail as you're willing to give in the comments below. And then other people who are maybe trying their first competition can learn from you and can say, oh, wow, if they did it, if they had fun, that means I can too. So leave some comments below about your first competition, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Peace.
No, why would I? I already put in my score.
All right, click refresh. And whoa, that's odd. What is happening? Noble's never gonna sponsor me now. Why does this keep happening?